Presented by AfterBuzz TV and hosted by Hall of Fame superstar Sean X-Pac Waltman, this is X-Pac 12360. And now your host, WWE Hall of Fame superstar Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360. All right. What's up, Denise?
I'm excited to get started on today's topic.
Tell.
I've been wanting to talk about your TNA run since I started on this show, to be honest.
Well, today's the day because we're gonna get deep into it because I see. Well, actually, I looked at a little bit of your notes and. Like, you did a lot of prep for this, Denise.
Yeah, I tried going back and watching like a lot of stuff and sort of like refreshing my brain and kind of put the puzzle pieces together. So that was a lot of fun. And it's always really cool to kind of go back and see stuff because then you're like, oh man, like what would have been if this would have happened? Or, you know, just different little things that kind of start piecing together.
Cool. Well, let's get going. So, hey, real quick. Anything like going on lately, like with you, maybe new podcasts or anything?
I know, I'm so excited. So on Monday, I start my first Raw recap show with Fightful with Sean Ross Sapp. So I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a new venture, a new audience, which is nice. So hopefully more people get to, you know, just make friends with people online. I love talking to people on Twitter about wrestling, the nice ones.
I look forward to seeing what you bring to the table over there because you sure do a lot for me here.
Thank you.
You're going to be great there. And especially since, you know, I never watched the whole show of Raw or SmackDown or anything. So whenever you come in here, all prepared to do a fucking review show with me. It's like, you know, I didn't see half the shit that you want to talk about. So good. I'm happy for you. You know, you got all these notes, and that'll help me. Recall some. Like so, because I mean, I have a good memory, but you know, I need something to help stoke my memory a little bit.
But it happens. There's so much to remember. Yeah. Like, oh my god, you know.
Other side.
No, there you go.
No. Okay, no. It's gone.
Oh, there you go. I'm already
Denise
falling
had
apart
like
on this
something.
podcast.
I think it might have been a booger. Actually.
Oh man, what a terrible way to get
So
started.
Ty's sick. Ty Matthews is usually with us every week, and he's sick today. So hope you feel better, Ty. So all right. Well, let's just jump right into it.
Let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, let's kick it off with how you got involved with TNA in the first place, and that sort of history behind that.
Okay. I can't remember exactly when it was that Jerry Jarrett reached out to me, but I was still with WWE, and I was out hurt. It was like it might have been late 2001 or early 2000. No, it was early 2002, and Scott and Kev just came back to work for Vince and, you know, doing the NWO thing. And I was out, you know, recuperating from neck injury. And Jerry reached out to me and, you know, he laid out the whole, you know, idea and the whole plan. And I just told Jerry at the time, I'm like, I'm still, you know, still under contract and I'm probably gonna go back into this top storyline WWE right now with NWO. So like, I'm like, well, you know, let me see how that goes. And I don't know. I didn't really think about leaving at the time, but you know, it was cool that Jerry reached out to me and that. So then in July of that same year, after the whole NWO thing played itself out, and you know, Scott ended up, you know, getting sent home, and Kev blew his quad out, and you know, Vince was, you know, he threw his both arms up in the air when it came to the NWO thing, and you know, he just wasn't happy with any of it. A situation happened with me at and this was okay. I'm getting off into the weeds already. So, anyways, I ended up leaving in July. Like, why I left that, we can save that for another another show. But when I did finally get to my release, I kind of had a little bit of an agreement with Jerry, just tentatively. He kind of laid out what they would pay me and everything. It was pretty good money. It was like six grand a show, and the whole idea was, a Wednesday pay-per-view. And I mean, the concept was good, and it was going to be a cheap pay-per-view, like $5 or $10. I can't remember exactly.
$10.
Yeah. And in the name TNA, and anyone can say what they want about that, and in relation to like acronym for tits and ass.
Yeah.
But it was a double entendre, and it was designed that way.
I wondered if it actually worked. I've always wondered that to this day.
It was just because that Jerry's idea was that anything could go. It was on pay-per-view, so even and there were women dancing in cages and shit during the early. You saw it, right? Whatever. And there's a lot of questionable shit on TNA early days. Not just the early days. Anyways, so that was kind of the whole idea, and it would be an adult-oriented show, and and the price point would be low. So, like, the whole idea was a lot of people would tune in, and I'm not sure exactly how many people ever tuned in to it, but I'm not sure what the buy rates were on those, or how, even like what the clearance was,
But it's funny because as you go back and you watch some of these episodes, you see that more and more they're, inside the asylum. Like, it was starting to sell out where, like, every time they had their shows, they had the full 1,000 people. I know at some other shows they had to turn people away because they were getting viewers, which was good, Yeah,
well, see, I wasn't on the very first one. That was, I think it was in Birmingham, and Scott was on that, actually. Scott, Ken Shamrock, I think he became the world champion there. Toby Keith, the country singer.
Oh, yeah.
Remember him? I can't remember him giving somebody a big vertical suplex. It was a hell of a suplex. Anyway, so and then they moved to Nashville for the weekly show.
Right.
But shit, where was I?
So you were basically talking about how you got involved, and Jerry Jarrett, how he pitched this idea to you, the storyline, etc., and your thoughts
and
about how it was
behind
going.
this. There was money behind this from Health South. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what Health South is. It's like this. Anyways, Health South is like I don't want to say it wrong, but anyways, Dr. Andrews, who does all the orthopedic surgeries on, he did Hunter's, quad, like he's done a ton of guys. I mean, he's top orthopedic surgeon in the whole country, and football players, everything like that. And that was where the money was coming from initially. And so, supposedly the money thing was all set, and then all the things happened with me, and I ended up getting my release. And when I did, I called Jerry on the phone. I remember, I think I was actually driving on my way here from Minnesota with all my shit on the back in a U-Haul trailer. And I was like, "Hey, Jerry, I got my release." And he's like, "Sean, I don't want to do his impression, but he's like, "You're never gonna believe this." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck." He goes, he talked about how that Health South had some big financial problems, and they pulled out, of the deal. And he's like, "What could you possibly work for me for?" And I'm like, "Jerry, whatever you can pay me."
Wow.
Because that's not why I left WWE.
Right.
Like, I didn't go, "Okay, I got this plan, I'm leaving, I'm going to go help them start." It was like some other shit happened.
Right.
So, yeah, that was it. So I ended up, I think I was getting like $2-3 grand. So I think I was getting $3 grand a week at first, or $3 grand a shot.
When you were pitched this idea about, what you were going to do, and how they had like this whole like adult content sort of stuff, what was your initial thoughts of the company, and what were certain things that you liked about it and maybe you weren't too crazy about?
I don't know, because at that time, I got, we were the Attitude Era, and we were kind of coming up the end of that. And so I wasn't really, I wasn't nothing he said really turned me off. Like none of the adult content stuff, obviously.
Right.
You know, I don't know. I was trying to keep a positive attitude about it, and you know, Jerry's really smart, and Jerry had a lot of faith in me. Jerry Jarrett's the reason why Marty Jannetty and I were tag team champions in 1994. But anyways, yeah, no, I was just, and plus I had a lot going on. I just gotten together, you know, I left my wife and family, and you know, had some craziness in relationships, and then at the time I just gotten together with China, and so like that was, you know, the TNA stuff was kind of a secondary to me, really.
Yeah, and everything was sort of coming all together, but was new for you, like everything in both your personal and private life. So let's go ahead and jump into September 18, 2002. This is when you officially made your debut against Scott Hall, with Scott Hall as his tag team partner, and you guys went into the gauntlet for the gold to determine the NWA Tag Team Champions. It was a battle royal. You guys didn't eventually end up winning, so it was America's Most Wanted that ended up winning. Yeah. But I want to know, since you guys were the biggest names at that point, how come you guys didn't start right away get the NWA tag team titles?
You know, it's the whole thought of, you know, we'll bring these guys in to help elevate the other guys, and we didn't need, you know, championships. I think that was the thought there, and also we're expensive. You know, and so if we're the champs and then they can't afford to pay us anymore, then they got to go through the whole thing of taking the titles off of us. And so, you know, I'm pretty sure that's why.
So like literally afterwards, a week later, it was you, Scott Hall versus Primetime Elite Skipper and Brian Lawler. And then after this, Scott Hall ended up leaving and you ended up teaming up with BG James, Road Dogg. So, you know, in terms of how this all came together, you had a few tag team matches, but then eventually you went into the X Division. Would you have liked to automatically just jump into the X Division?
Yeah, probably. You had a lot going on. Like, also, I just started getting into using crystal meth.
Oh.
Yeah, so like a lot, you know, my mind was, my judgment wasn't the best. I mean, even not fucked up, my judgment wasn't the best, you know. So
did you feel like maybe you didn't want to jump into that right away and you still needed to do maybe some tag team stuff, or did that play into that?
Not really. It's just, you know, I don't know, Denise. Thinking back, I can't remember having any strong thoughts about that one way or another. I think I was... You know, they were calling it the X Division, so it wasn't called, you know, light heavyweight or cruiserweight or, you know, or whatever. But I was still kind of not wanting to be pigeonholed into that, you know, the smaller guy category. You know, I had worked so hard to, you know, break out of, you know, and so I was more wanting to be in that NWA title picture.
Wow, that's really interesting to me because, you know, personally, as a person that's watched Impact like throughout the years, etc., my favorite has always been the X Division because, you know, I just love the stuff that, you know, the guys that we're doing throughout the years have done. So then let's just go ahead and jump into, you know, you say you wanted to get away from that, but on October 9, 2002, there was the X Division ladder match for the title, which you weren't in, but you ended up coming in towards the end and ended up getting that title. And it was this night that you actually became the first and only wrestler to win both the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship, and the TNA X Division Champion. So being a pioneer of, you know, what you wanted to get away from, what were your thoughts then on that?
You know, the funny thing about that is I think I was still technically the WWE Light Heavyweight Champion at that time. Oh, I definitely had the belt because Jerry Jarrett, he asked me if I had anything to donate for this breast cancer charity auction, and I gave him the belt for that. They got like $4,000 for it.
Oh man! But you didn't get in trouble for that, or?
What are they gonna do?
Oh wow! Okay, so did you care? Did you see like the big significance in that at that point of holding these 3 titles, being the first and only wrestler?
Never thought about it.
Really?
Didn't even think about it
what
once.
about now? Now, do you look back at that and think like, maybe this was a big deal?
Yeah, looking back at it, because at the time you're just doing this thing, and the company's brand new, and you don't know if it's going to last, because it's been tons of promotions that have come and gone that supposedly had big plans and big money, and
so maybe you didn't see it going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
now,
but that's like one of those shows. Like I think maybe even that first one is where Jerry Jarrett, he came up to me and Scott, and he's like, "Hey, please, will you talk to these people? We're trying to get them to invest." And Scott and we talked to the Carters, and Dixie's brother actually told me that we were the reason. Scott and we're the ones that talked them into buying TNA.
Really?
Absolutely.
What did you guys say?
I don't remember. We just talked, talk about their love for wrestling and the need for competition.
Because I was always under the assumption, because I heard, maybe you can correct me on this, but I thought Jeff Jarrett already knew Dixie Carter going back, because I think they went to high school or college together or something like that.
There was a history there somewhere, but that doesn't mean that the family was ready to put millions of dollars in the wrestling.
Right. So how did you feel when they said like you guys were part of the reason that we decided to invest?
Well, when Dixie's brother actually told me that, it was a few years down the road.
Oh, okay. So
and I was like, so does that mean I've got heat with you? I mean, because I don't know how many millions of dollars they had lost at that point, So.
But I'm sure they had to know that, like going into it, like, hey, we're probably going to be losing some money until we make some money.
You would think, Denise, but really, like, people that get into wrestling, like, as financial backers, never know what the fuck they're getting into. Ever.
But it's weird because, like, even fans that just know this, like, you already know, like, okay, you're going to lose money because, history repeats itself. If anything, you learn from history. So, it takes a while for people to make money or at least, get back what they invested said night,
And also people, they bring in they figure if there's this big gravy train or if, like, there's a cash cow, it's like, oh, let me get my friends and get them in on this,
Right.
So that, it's just how, it's always more than what people bargained for.
And it's crazy because it almost seems like that was the pattern that kept repeating itself even years later, with companies still coming in to, sort of save Impact when they were on their last legs. Yeah. So during this X Division ladder match, this is when you also cost AJ Styles his bout, which then led into your guys' match.
So that ladder match, if you go back and watch it, I had to, so I came in and I belly to back suplexed AJ off the top of the ladder. But they had the ladder all like, I don't know, it was set so close to the edge of the ring that I had to, in midair, turn him. If you you go back and watch, in midair, I don't even know how I did it. I turned him and set him down just right. Else we would have been all up in the ropes and shit, and somebody might have gotten hurt.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then this eventually led into your first match on Impact with AJ Styles.
Yeah.
So now, at this point, how many times had you worked with AJ?
Never.
So that was officially the first time?
Yeah.
Were you at
And that was, I don't know if you've ever read the story or heard the story about me going in to a match with AJ all whacked out on meth.
Yeah. I just didn't know which match it was.
That was this one.
It was this one?
Yeah. The first one. So we never worked together. He didn't know what to expect. We're going on live pay-per-view, and he's trying to put a match together with me for hours. And I'm in this little, there's a bathroom stall right in the dressing room. And it's just, and I'm in there, shooting fucking meth in my veins. Yeah.
Did you, and obviously, so did AJ know this? He knew this, right?
He didn't know exactly what was going on, but he, bless his heart, I don't like.
Because he was a young kid.
Yes.
Like, he didn't have all the experience in the world. He had just been wrestling for like, what, a few years?
Yeah. And I just said, don't worry, it'll be fine. And it was. I mean, if you go and watch a match, other than the part where I forget what the finish is, and we just keep going and like go over our time and everything, and end up doing like a DQ or some shit. Like it's because I forgot what the fucking finish was supposed to be.
So it's funny because now you're answering all my questions, because one of them was going to be that I noticed you had a very different energy during this match. Like there is some parts where you're just like, yeah, like raging, and I was like, okay, maybe he's just really hyped that.
Because I'm calling it all in there to AJ on the fucking fly.
That's what I was also going to ask if you guys called
even
it
when
in
he
the
goes
ring
to the floor, I'm
prior.
like, hey, catch me, and I go flying because I'm just hoping he's going to catch me.
And it's funny because when you say that that's the reason why this DQ happened, I was thinking to myself, why did they decide to end it like this on the DQ? I know they were trying to continue the feud, but the way it ended, it was just kind of like, okay, you shoved the referee, all right, big deal, woohoo, you know?
Yeah. Because then else we would have just kept on going. And there was one match after that. Like that, we were taking time up from the main event, like the main event. We were like semi or some shit.
Well, one of the things that I also noticed.
So, real quick. So, both of our agents, like, his name is Bill Behrens.
Mm-hmm.
He, at the time he was working kind of like as a production guy, and he was at the gorilla position. And when AJ was getting ready to go out first, and AJ was like, man, I don't know what's going to happen here, but, so he was just kind of like, man, I think he probably said a prayer and just hope for the best.
Wow.
And it turned out pretty goddamn good, actually.
Yeah, because
other than
like I said, I had heard that was a story, but I didn't know specifically which AJ match it was.
Like, this is, I mean, it's fucking ridiculous I did that. Like, this is in no way me glorifying, bragging. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's, thank God nobody got hurt in any of that,
But at least you're able to look at it now, and not, look at it differently, I guess you can say, and talk about that and be open and honest about it. Did you and AJ ever later on in the future ever talk about this?
A little bit.
Really?
Yeah, just say,
Did he ever say, like, man, what were you thinking?
He was the one that told me that he was telling Bill Behrens that right before he went through the curtain.
He's the one who told you.
Yeah. Because I think this a couple of years ago, I was like, hey, man, by the way, I'm really sorry for, that.
Yeah. So,
he was like, I mean, and when you look back, you can kind of chuckle or whatever, because everything turned out okay. But
I guess it was a big lesson learned for AJ of,
I don't know,
an experience for him at least, because you're going in there and obviously, he's already, being in this match with you is already probably nerve-wracking enough. And then, he's not as experienced at this point.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was interesting about this match is that I know that one of the criticisms that AJ Styles was receiving during this time was that he was told he did too much and he did too much and he did too fast. But I saw that during this match, you guys worked more of your style.
Exactly.
So I thought, maybe Sean is trying to teach him how to work this like slower pace style, or just, a little different, have him not do so much during this match.
Well, that was part of it.
So it was intentional?
That part, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of anything, that's how the pacing of the match would have went.
All right. So what were your thoughts on AJ after this match?
He was great to work with. I mean, obviously there was the lack of experience, and it showed in certain things. Man, that's not the AJ you see today. Obviously, He was like arguably best in the world. You could kind of tell, like, if he stayed the course, that he would be pretty big star in the industry, a really big one.
Like eventually get there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you guys had your rematch a week later, no DQ. When it comes to both of these matches, which one did you like the most?
I was more comfortable with the second one, but the first one was better because I was able to be, just pay attention to the crowd more instead of having stuff already planned out. So I was able to just always be mindful of where the people were and call things from that perspective instead of going, okay, this is what we had planned in the back, so we got to do this. So, it's like I said, you're more comfortable. It's like having a safety net, we call it working with a net or working without a net. I don't know if you've ever heard that expression,
yeah.
But yeah, I was fine working without a net. And most people aren't, but he really rose to the occasion on that. And the second one was fine too. The second match was good. Just it wasn't as good as the first one.
So was the plan always to have a short reign for the X Division belt for you?
I have no idea.
No, you guys never talked about that?
No.
That was not one of the things that you discussed prior?
No.
So automatically when you spoke with Jerry the first time, did you already know you were going to go in and start working with AJ off the bat?
No, I didn't.
No? Okay.
No. I didn't have any creative plans, really. Other than, going to be one of the top guys.
All right, so now we're coming almost towards the end of this 2002 run for you. But basically during this match, Brian Lawler costed you the match for this one between AJ, therefore losing the bout. And then afterwards you had a match with him where you defeated him. And then after that, you left the company. So why did you leave the first time in 2002? And also, well, first, you can answer that part first.
So Russo came in.
Yes.
Right? And I had a pretty strong loyalty to Jerry, to Jeff's dad, Jerry Jarrett. And there's some, and I don't want to get off too deep into it because I can't remember the details like I want to if I'm going to dive into it too much. But there was a situation where I found out that they were trying to get power away from Jeff and Vince together. And I told Jerry about it, and Jerry didn't believe me. And then Jerry, I think the next day or later on in the evening or something, he called me back basically crying, saying, I can't believe it. I can't believe they're doing that to me.
Well, his own son, that's a little...
Yeah, and then, so... I was fucking pissed about it because I loved Jerry. I love Jeff too or whatever, but it's,
different loyalty?
Yeah. And it was just a matter of a sense of right and wrong, and also I wasn't the biggest Vince Russo fan. I liked him as a human being, and a lot of people say that. I had tons of,
Never saw eye to eye?
Not on creative stuff, not on a lot of stuff. On some.
Okay.
Because I made a lot of money with Vince Russo during Attitude Era when he was there,
Right.
But there was a lot of his ideas I didn't like. And I did not like how they did this behind the scenes, behind Jerry's back. And so when Jerry found out, he couldn't believe it. Anyways, but what happened is they took that real life thing and turned it into a fucking angle.
Yep.
And it pissed me off to no end. And I was like, fuck it.
Well, even when you returned, commentary was really pushing that. They were like, Sean Waltman said he'd never returned. I think it was Mike Tna or somebody. He said, I was in the room when he told Vince Russo that, he would never work with him again. And
I never said that.
Well, that was what they said
I don't
in
recollect
commentary.
ever saying that.
I don't know if that
know,
was true or they were just trying to push the storyline at that point. But before we jump into 2003, I just wanted to go back really quick to 2002 and ask you why
also,
you never
my drug use was a part of that. I can't blame it all on Vince Russo and their little behind-the-scenes maneuverings. I was using a lot. I already said that.
Yeah.
And so, that had something to do with me not showing up as well.
So one of the questions I did want to ask, though, in your first run for TNA, why didn't you work with Jerry Lynn during the first run?
I don't know. Was he there?
Yeah.
Huh, I don't know.
Okay. Well, you ended up working with him afterwards, but I was just curious as to why that didn't happen right away.
I don't know.
Okay, so then 2003, you come back, you return for the 1-year anniversary show, which is now known as Slammiversary, June 18, 2003. At this point, AJ Styles has just won the NWA title. So speaking about what we just spoke about with everything that went down and you not seeing eye to eye with Vince Russo, why did you return?
I don't know. Because I definitely wasn't in the shape to be doing it. And which, if you go back and watch it, I wrestled in a goddamn jumpsuit to cover my body up because I was like, I probably wasn't happy with the way I looked. I probably felt like I was sucked up from all the drugs, and I might have had some track marks on my arms or something, that I was ashamed of, embarrassed of.
Is it hard watching, like, if you go back and watch that stuff now and seeing where you were, is that hard for you?
I'm not sure because I'm not trying to go back and watch it.
Okay.
I do remember, I remember the match was okay.
Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up was that this was Sting's first match in the U.S. since WCW closed March 2001. So it was you and AJ versus Sting and Jeff Jarrett. Yeah. And
I barely made it there for that. Like
really?
It was hard to get me anywhere. I was totally unreliable at the time.
So
Joni and I's relationship was a mess, and it already, like, some of the stuff was already public that we were fucking, train wreck couple and all that. So, and she was there with me, and that was kind of a distraction.
She was there that night?
Yeah. And just, fuck.
So that explains then why you only had that one match in 2003 during that.
And I mean,
did you have any interest in that point to do more, or you were just too busy with other stuff?
I was too, my mind was so fucking whacked out at the time, and I really had no business in the ring, and I think they could tell.
Right. Did anybody say anything to you?
No, I don't think so.
They're just like, okay, you do you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted me if I was them at that point. So.
Well, afterwards, we didn't see you 2004, but you did come back February 2005. TNA at this point was already on Fox Sports Net. You had a couple of matches, but this is actually my favorite run of yours in TNA, which was 2005, because you had a lot of really good matches. Starting off in May, you actually replaced Jeff Hardy in a match against Raven for the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match at Hard Justice. And the cool thing about this is not your typical match that you've worked, prior. So what was your experience working this hardcore style of a match with Raven?
Oh, Scotty's a really smart worker. And so, I mean, it was I think the match was a good match.
You guys did a lot. Yeah. There was a lot of really good moments in this match, and that's why. Did you at any point not want to do certain things, or you were down to do anything?
I was down to do everything. I was down to do more than Scotty.
Really?
Scotty wasn't, for a guy that was in ECW and all that, he wasn't as, he could be the first to admit, he didn't like to get hit as hard as I did.
Wow.
Yeah. And just a lot of the crazy stuff that I was willing to do, He was willing to give it to me, but he wasn't willing to take it.
Well, there was a spot that I remember in this match where, they had the fences up, and then there was a little opening, and they really pushed the fact that you were so tiny and you can barely make your way in there. But you made your way in there, but you barely were there for a second, and then you dove off. It was crazy because seeing that, it almost seemed like you were barely getting into position and you just went for it.
Is that when I went through the table on the floor onto him?
Yeah, you snuck through the little through the fences, so you were barely making your way there, and I was just like, oh man, Sean just went for that. He didn't even think twice about that, and it didn't feel like you were exactly in position. You just went for it. So I was like, oh man,
no, it was a fun match. Scotty was fun to work with, and we everything worked how we hoped it would, and so for me being a replacement in a match like that, I thought everything worked out great.
Right.
Because that's a kind of match that's almost like a blow off to a feud, not just two random guys going together, right?
Yeah.
So, but you do what you can, right? And Jeff Hardy was having issues at the time, and so it's crazy, another dude with issues coming in.
And you were replacing him, having said
and
similar
I think he
issues.
might have returned the favor at some point, too. And the guy fucked off and, no-showed, and he probably had to do the same for me.
Oh, man. All right. And then afterwards, let's move on to your King of the Mountain match for the NWA title at Slammiversary. So this was the reverse ladder match. It was Raven, Monty Brown, Abyss, yourself, and AJ, with Raven ended up winning. But what did you think of the concept of this reverse ladder match?
That's
fun. I know
fun.
this was barely the second one that they had, but were you a fan of it? Were you a fan of the penalty box and all of that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was easy to follow. I don't think it was
because a lot of fans complained that it was too convoluted.
I don't know. I didn't think so. I didn't. I thought maybe explaining the rule. I don't know. I just think once the match happened, I don't think it was hard to follow at all. I thought it was a really good match, and it was for Raven to become the NWA champion.
Mm-hmm.
But And so, like, I think I've told this before. Raven, when you try to put a match together with it, it was really difficult. It was really difficult because he's a brilliant guy, so he always thinks his ideas are better than everyone else's, and it can be a fucking like filibuster situation or just a gridlock trying to get shit done. So we had like somebody from production like pull Scotty out of the room and say they needed him for something while we put the majority of the fucking match together. Oh, yeah.
Was he pissed?
He was not happy.
Well,
by the time he come back, we'd already had everything laid out, and it's like, fuck, you're winning the goddamn belt. The fuck out of here.
So he was known for this then, for not...
It was hard to put stuff together with. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. What were your thoughts on Abyss?
Oh, he was great. He was great. Like, he's just the sweetest guy. He's the absolute opposite of the monster Abyss. Like, I don't want to ruin his deal. He's just such a sweetheart.
I think it's known. Like, it's definitely known that he's a very nice person.
Whenever, I go, have I ever given you the Abyss impression?
I don't think so.
He's, hey, I love you, Sean. Are you mad at me? I always want to know if you're mad at him. He's just such a nice guy.
I heard him once in an interview, and I think he said that he was running a few minutes late or something. And when he came on air, he was like so apologetic and so nice. Like, please forgive me. And I was just like, wow.
I think I got hot at him in this match, and I think I kind of like opened up on him a little bit because he didn't catch AJ right.
Oh.
And I don't know. I think I was like pretty aggressive with him over it.
I'm sure he must have felt bad afterwards.
Yeah, I think he came up to me. Are you mad at me?
That sucks. Did you tell him you were okay? Like, I'm not mad at you?
No, I think I was mad at him.
Oh, okay, so you were mad at him. Okay.
But not like afterwards, just at the time.
All right.
But it was a good match. It was a fun match. And there was a cool thing that set up a singles match for AJ and I.
Yeah, because you guys were working together, but then didn't end up going that way, and then that led to your. I
acted like I was helping. Like, here, go get the belt, AJ. And then as he's on his way up, I hit him in the balls and gave him my finish off the top of the ladder.
Which was cool because then this led to your match at No Surrender, July 2005. And so now, and Jerry Lynn was also the special guest referee for this. So with this match, I love this match, by the way. I think out of like these ones so far, like this one was my favorite. But at this point, you guys had worked several matches before,
We had a few.
In the past we just spoke about. What were your thoughts on AJ now as a wrestler now that, think 3 years had gone by since your guys' first match?
Well, I don't remember ever sitting down and going, let me evaluate how AJ Styles is doing now.
Just when you're just going the ring and you just feel the difference, right?
He was progressing very nicely. He was making a lot of progress on his way to becoming the performer he is today.
How did you feel about your performance?
I was happy with it. Yeah, I was happy with that. I think they were... I think I was in Puerto Rico right before that, like literally days before that, and I'm pretty sure somebody actually called down there and had like the promoter, like I was down there working for Carlos Colon, and I'm pretty sure like Dutch Mantel or somebody called down and asked them to like put me up at some place that was away from all the craziness, like to make sure I showed up to the TNA pay-per-view, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They were concerned I wasn't going to make it from Puerto Rico to TNA.
Dang.
Yeah.
You weren't concerned, like you knew, like, hey, I'm going to show up, I'm going to be there, or were you just kind of like winging it?
I was just kind of going day by day, doing my thing, living my, I was just existing kind of at the time. It wasn't like the life that I have now. I was just getting through life, getting fucked up every chance I could get. I wasn't happy. I was still beating myself up over a lot of things.
Which is crazy, though, like if you don't mind me saying, because going back and seeing your matches from this period, it was just like, incredible.
Thanks.
And seeing you work.
That was definitely not the best version of me, and I I'm glad that you thought I still did pretty good.
You think it's not the best version of you, but then and you go back and you watch. And okay, so here's my thing. When you go back and you watch a lot of matches, sometimes they don't hold up. Or like, let's say you felt a certain way about a match and you're like, oh, this match was incredible. Let me rewatch it X amount of years later. You go back and you're like, I don't know what I really saw in this match. But that's not how it felt with this one's here. You know, you go back and you're like, you know what? Like this match holds up. Like if I were to see it next week, it holds up.
Thanks.
You know, so that's the cool thing about it.
The thing I like about like those matches is the pacing, right? Because I mean, we do things and we're quick and there, and our movements are sudden and
you're the bigger guy for once in this part.
But I mean, we're taking our time and pacing this match so you can follow everything and digest everything, and the commentators can tell the story on their end, and you're not just fucking doing one thing after another as fast as you can, you know?
Right.
So
then, basically, the finish of this match ended up working into your match with Jerry Lynn. So Jerry Lynn knocked your hands off the rope, and then AJ was able to get the Styles Clash on you. So
that was a neat finish, I thought.
Yeah, I like that. I like that one, actually. And then, okay, so move on over to this then led to your match with Jerry Lynn. August 14, 2005, TNA Sacrifice. So, at this point, how long had it been since you'd wrestled Jerry Lynn?
2000 and... Oh, wait. Did I have a match with him in WWE?
I don't. I think your last ones were
then it was in
GWF.
Then it would have been 91.
So like maybe like 15 years or so.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that Jerry Lynn was going into this match. This was his first match in 2 years since because he was coming off of a shoulder injury.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that was pretty interesting as well. So it was just kind of cool to kind of see you guys like go head to head with a style that you guys, you know, essentially kicked off and pioneered together. Yeah. So with this one, there was a spot where you took the suplex from the ring to the ground. What was that like?
Oh, it hurt because I landed flat and like it jarred everything in my body. Like, everything reverberated. It wasn't pleasant, but it was worth it.
I know, because you usually see that tease, and it's, you know,
because it wasn't like some people take that and they'll take it kind of off to the side or whatever. But I took it fucking flat. You could hear the smack, right? You can hear that.
Yeah, you can hear it for sure. So, what's this feud supposed to continue? Because we didn't get like a follow up after this, so was that just like the end?
I think so.
Just the end. All right, because then
that's too bad because you know, I thought that was really good in the couple little you know, backstage segments. I don't know if you saw any of the like promos or anything.
Saw a few.
You know, I thought they were kind of good. You know, and I don't know. I don't remember what happened there, but I just remember. Doing the Candido Cups. The next thing
so
I think
you
I
teamed with Alex Shelley after this, and you guys won the Chris Candido Invitational, and that earned you guys a shot for the NWA Tag Team titles. But then you were eventually replaced by Johnny for,
Yeah, so...
So this was the event that showed, correct?
Yeah, the tag team. Alex Shelley and I were supposed to become the TNA Tag Team Champions, and I showed.
And then after that... We didn't see you come back until the following year for really just one match in 2006. I really loved teaming with Alex Shelley. What was that like? Because he's such a great competitor, I think.
No, it's super great guy. He was really appreciative of teaming with me, and I felt really shitty that I let him down because he was so happy to be teaming with me. And I was happy to be teaming with him, but and we would have been the TNA Tag Team Champions and.
Did you guys ever talk about that afterwards? Like, hey, I'm sorry this happened.
He mentioned it to me not that long, like probably like last year. Him and I communicated a little bit. And, he understood what I was going through.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason I wasn't still in the WWE. It's because I was fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wasn't fucked up when I left WWE. But as far as like, there's no way I could have worked in WWE in that condition.
Right, because at that point was it progressing for you? Like gradually progressing? Worse. It was getting worse at the time?
Well, and then I'd gotten better, and then, I had a rehab stint in there and came back out and, it's just... I wasn't even, I don't think I was really like, there was a lot of partying going on in TNA.
Really?
Yeah.
Like with everybody?
Not everybody, and I'm not naming names, but a lot of people were doing not just pot, and some could handle it better than others, and I just wasn't one of them.
Right.
But we would do a pay-per-view on Sunday, and then because they didn't want to run up against WWE Raw on Monday, we would skip Monday and do TV on Tuesday. So we'd have a day off.
And that day off was like your...
Forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. Like,
no work on Monday,
No sleep on Monday either.
There you go. Oh, man.
So a lot of those, like, you'll see me in some of those matches where I've been up for 2-3 days, whacked out. Yeah.
So then... All right, so then after that, like you said, you didn't come back until...
I was hallucinating shit even, and still like trying to play it off and present well, like I'm not like seeing crazy things going on, like
was it scary to you? Like, yeah, hey, like I know for a fact that can't be real, but I'm seeing it regardless.
I didn't know for a fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was really crazy. I was really fucking crazy at the time. Yeah, and like. That's another story in and of itself too. Like, I mean, it was really, like I'd be on the way to the ring and I'd see like deep, like crazy shit like in the corner of my eyes, or I would see like I would look out of a reflection of a mirror or a window. I would see like it would look like there's fucking, things there. Like it was just. Whatever they were, demons, fucking, I don't know what the fuck they were, Denise, but.
So when you were out there, was it hard to focus? Like, because you're being distracted, I guess?
Once I got in, once I went through the curtain, all that stuff stopped.
Okay.
It wasn't like I was in the middle of the ring getting hit and I could see fucking E.T. up in the corner fucking laughing at me or something, but.
Oh, man.
Yeah. There was, and so you don't want people to know you're going through that and thinking you're crazy. And
did you ever reach out to anybody like there and confide in them, say, hey, I'm going through this?
There were some other people that were.
People reach out to you, maybe?
No, I'm saying there were some other people that were working there at the time that may have had something similar going on. So
it isn't like you were the only one.
Maybe to that extent, but as everyone's different, but yeah, so definitely wasn't the only one doing that drug. So.
All right. So then afterwards, we saw you come back for one more match in 2006. It was yourself versus Raven. You came in as Larry Zbyszko's hand-picked opponent.
And then we tried to have another hardcore style match, and it wasn't really that good.
No.
It's like we overthought things and tried to do things that, like this fucking spot where he puts me in a shopping cart and rolls me off like it sounded good on paper, like, oh, it'll be a hell of a crash and burn spot, but it was like forced, and it wasn't nearly as good as the House of Fun match.
Okay, so then at this point you were still kind of just going day by day, seeing whether or not, so that's why you didn't appear more. Have any plans?
And then there was like WSX started going on at the time.
Okay, yeah.
And so like
shifted focus.
That was the thing, and then I was under contract for them. They did try to get me back at one point.
And TNA?
Yeah.
Okay.
They reached out to me after I showed up in the ring with DX in Tampa, and it made it got a big buzz going. They wanted to hire me back then, but I was doing that WSX. I don't know. I was tied up somehow with them.
All right. Well, then fast forward 4 years later, you did end up coming back. This would essentially be your last run at TNA. You returned when Hogan and Bischoff took control of TNA, and you sort of came in and you aligned yourself with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and then afterwards, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff were their separate thing, and basically made it clear that it was different times and they were going to be teaming up with you guys. And so, how did this all go about with you? How did you get yourself to come back to Impact for this 2010?
I was living in Mexico, I was working down there, but that was, it's funny how like it was good timing. It was good. It got me out of Mexico when they called me for that, because my run was coming to an end down there, and like I had a couple of bad experiences drug wise, and that's after I'd already been through rehab again, and like, so yeah, when they called me for that, and I think I just left everything in my room in Mexico and never went back. Yeah, and Taya Valkyrie got my room down there.
Oh wow! So she was.
Fuck, I don't even want to know some of the shit she must have found in that room.
I was gonna say, yeah, she had to probably, because you didn't pack anything up, right? You just left it there.
Fucking drug paraphernalia everywhere. Who knows, right? Like, anyways, you'd have to ask her.
So what were your thoughts going back? Like, hey, I'm finally leaving Mexico, moving on to this new thing.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I just thought, okay, they're going to try, okay, Hulk's there, Kev, Scott, Bischoff. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to do something big. And they were trying to go do this head-to-head thing. We're firing the first shot. Like, they actually talked about, we're firing the first shot in the war.
Were you a fan of that? Or were you just like,
if they were really going to actually do it, I'm like, so, like, if you really want to, like, I even told Eric back then, I'm like, why don't you give them a taste of their own medicine? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, why don't we fucking invade them? Nobody wanted to even fucking think about doing that.
Oh, man. So do you think that...
Like, let's not talk tough like we're going to fucking war then if we're...
So was it a mistake then, essentially? Do you think it was a mistake for them to say going head-to-head with Raw?
I don't know. There was a lot of mistakes at that time. I came in, and I think I did it pretty good, but I was still not healthy mentally, healthier than I was at other times, but, and then, anyways, you want to keep going?
So what were some of the bigger changes or things that you maybe disliked or liked that were different, from 4 years from when you were there? Like, what was the big changes? I mean, obviously, besides...
Well, Russo's back calling the shots, and so I thought that was weird because I thought Eric and Hulk and them were, and, I just remember not liking something creatively and, like, saying something about it. And I just remember Russo not wanting to hear any of it. Like, not wanting to be contradicted, not wanting to be questioned, not wanting to have his plans, changed or anything like that. I didn't like that whatsoever. Like, not wanting feedback or input from the guys that are actually going out there and fucking doing it.
Wow. So from no one at all? He just didn't want the feedback?
No way. No.
And that doesn't land well, obviously, with you guys and everybody else. So people weren't happy about that?
No. And then you having guys, and I know it's their job, but when they come up to you and like as a quote unquote agent / producer, trying to like, give you guidance in your match, and they have no business fucking doing that. It's kind of weird and awkward, I'm not gonna name names,
right?
But it was just I was like, whatever.
So at this point here, also the other thing I wanted to know is, do you think that they made a mistake by basically keeping Impact at the Impact Zone and not traveling?
I don't think they had a choice.
What do you think they could have done differently to sort of, because one of the things about Impact that this period essentially sort of caused was, like we said, that big stench that people, always like, oh, Impact, like they would do this, or just basically not a good vibe from them afterwards.
Yeah, I just
what do you think they
could
have done differently?
Use us to elevate the the talent.
The younger talent.
The younger talent. The guys that were obviously the ones that you want to go with. The AJs, the guys like that.
Right.
Not bring the fucking nasty boys in. I could say the same for me, except for I was still able to go out there and have good matches.
Right.
You
You were keeping up, like we mentioned
Absolutely.
earlier, like even just going back and watching your matches with AJ, Jerry Lynn,
But even in this
etc.
run, like,
because
just-
it seems like they could have gone really far, just like having you and Jerry Lynn be the the guys that are guiding the younger talent. I feel like they could have gone very far with that.
Yeah. So I tell you, there was some things I really liked about this short little run I had there. It was the stuff that I did with Eric Young. It was really good stuff.
Right.
It was really hot, and like our interactions in the ring were really good.
And
we had a lot of intensity, and we had a really good little cage match tag. That was like me, Scott, and Kev versus Jeff Hardy, RVD, and Eric Young.
Okay.
And I knocked Rob out before he even got in the ring. It was fucked up. Jesus Christ, I got gum on my... Anyway. Yeah, so we were all three supposed to meet Rob, Jeff, and... I don't know if Eric... Anyways, we were all supposed to meet them out on the ramp and beat them down. But when we tried to get out, Scott and Kev couldn't get out of the ring because it was all like it was two cramped quarters to climb through the ropes and get out the cage door. So I had to go out on the ramp and beat. I don't think it was all three of them. It was just two of them at the time. But I had to kick the shit out of Rob and Jeff at the same time, all by myself. So I legit knocked Rob out cold with a spinning crescent kick. And like when I apologized to him later, he didn't even know what I was talking about until he went back and watched, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't know what you were talking about because you knocked me the fuck out." So, but yeah, and I think, and Eric Young dropped an elbow off the top of the cage onto me. That was pretty sweet. That was nice.
Well, one of the things that Eric Young always had is a lot of charisma. That's one of the things that I've always personally liked about him is like his very strong character. Is that one of the things you noticed right off the bat with him?
Who?
With Eric Young?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he's always had that. I feel like he always brought a very uniqueness.
I always thought in that Team Canada thing, because everyone was like, looking at Rude as that guy. And I was like, no, it's nothing against Rob, but he was the obvious guy. And I was like, this is the guy you got to look out for. Eric Young. He's the talent there. Oh, excuse me.
All right. So then pretty much after this, after April 2010, that you were officially gone afterwards from Impact and from TNA. And
so there's, I didn't even want to talk about why I left.
Yeah. Why did you leave? I don't think so.
So we set up this match that was supposed to be at this pay-per-view, and I think it was St. Louis or something.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be Scott and Kevin and I versus the Dudleys and Jesse. Was the guy with the mohawk? He had like tattoos and a mohawk.
Because I have here that I know, because you were working with Team 3D.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing that basically happened on, Destination X.
Yes.
That was when you were basically fired from the company on the spot, right? No, because that's what I have here on here. It was April 18, 2010.
Yeah, so is that the match I was supposed to have with 3D in that?
So April 12th, you had, so it was Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, yourself. You guys beat Team 3D and
on
Jesse
TV.
Neal in a street fight. That was on Impact. The following week after that was when you no-showed the pay-per-view and was fired on the spot.
Yeah, and they told everyone I no-showed.
Okay, so that's not correct?
Absolutely not. They fucking lied through their teeth to make me look like a piece of shit. And there's a reason why I'm pretty sure they did that. But so a lot of people know, some people don't, that I had hepatitis C. And so when I went to take my my physical and all that, because Missouri's
laws.
It's a commission state.
Okay.
And even in some commission states, you don't have to do blood work for pro wrestling.
Right.
They did, and so it came up. I came positive for hepatitis C, and that's obviously kind of confidential information, right? So, and I still would have shown up to the show, but they just said, no, you don't need to come. And then they fucking said, oh, yeah, Waltman no-showed. You know Waltman. They actually had Taz do it. They actually had Taz go, oh, yeah, it's Sean Waltman being Sean Waltman. Fucking no-show.
So, I mean, they could have definitely done it a different way without having you to get involved.
Of course.
Wow.
Of course.
So were you upset when you heard that?
I was extremely pissed off about that.
And then you had to come back the week after and basically get taken out backstage by
I didn't have to, but I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised that you decided, like, okay, fine, I'll do this, even though, you guys decided to say this about me,
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it was a fucking really piece of shit thing to do.
Yeah.
Quick question. I'm hopping in from the booth. Sean, do you regret going back after being dropped from TNA to do that little segment you mentioned?
I don't know, because they were still telling me, like, okay, because, before that, when I came to TV and, we're discussing how we're going to handle this, like, Dixie Carter came up and hugged me and goes, we'll get through this together. It was just such disingenuous fucking bullshit. That's why I don't know. I don't want to get too off into, getting bitter about things because I'm not anymore.
Right.
But I was pissed off at the time.
So now my last question to you is going back and like everything that we talked about and seeing your run at TNA, what would you say was like your favorite part of that or your most memorable thing that you remember from that you actually like really felt like, you know what, I really enjoyed that?
The stuff I did with Jerry, I got to do some more stuff with Jerry there. I don't know, there was a lot of stuff I really enjoyed, like the King of the Mountain match you're talking about.
That was fun, different, creative.
Yeah, just being able to work with, the Candido Cup stuff, any of that. Yeah.
Like you liked working also, like, obviously with the younger talent, seeing what's new out there, having different types of matches that, maybe you didn't have elsewhere, that sort of thing. Because that was fun to see and sort of, my thing is like you always like when you work with different guys, like you do different stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm grateful for that, for my experiences with TNA. Yeah.
And I think like ever since then, like they've still been bringing up so many young guys that we've seen like flourish and eventually go to WWE, which is really cool. Obviously, so many people that you can name that, I started watching on Impact and all of a sudden, oh man, a few years later, they're doing this now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anything else you want to add or?
Nah, I thought about a couple of things, but that has nothing to do with my run there. So, yeah, no.
Okay. Then I guess we're wrapping it up. Or?
Denise, I thank you for being very well prepared for this. I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking about it, revisiting some of that stuff. I don't know. Anything you want to add before we get the fuck out of here?
Guys, do not forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, you name it. Xpac 12360 Show on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us for highlights, clips, and more.
All right. You can follow me. Did you already say where you could follow me?
No.
Jesus Christ. I can't even remember what you said 20 seconds ago.
I said the show stuff.
At The Real X-Pac on Twitter. At Real X-Pac on Instagram. All that. At It's Baby Lula for Lou. Anyways. All right. See you next week. Love you guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Sean Waltman, and the entire Xpac 12360 staff, thank you for tuning in to Xpac 12360.